Is dance a good career to earn a livelihood?
No.
Why is this expectation on a Bharatanatyam dancer or a yoga teacher to always be seen in a certain attire?
I think the attire is a limitation of what people feel themselves. I don't blame them. They were more liberated. Have you seen the temples?
Yes.
Nobody's wearing anything. And nobody cares. Because they were not in that level of recognition with their bodies at all.
Yes.
The body was just a vehicle
Yes.
in this lifetime.
Yes.
And that's all it was. Even Jayadeva says in one of his writings, if people will ultimately read about Krishna and know about Krishna because of his love and his love sports with Radha, so be it.
Oh,
I think I'm a better actor than I'm a dancer, honestly speaking.
you feel that way?
Yeah, I do.
So, Sitaram, did you say your own dialogues?
Yeah, I did.
So, at such a young age, what gave you the courage to defer a Carnegie Mellon application and to take to Bharatanatyam dance? Who is Rukmini?
Who is Rukmini is exactly my point. The I of Rukmini doesn't exist in my dance. Me showing Krishna, me showing Radha, look at me, look at Radha. I have to stop being there. Then Radha will be there. Then Ravana will be there.
And I think this entire idea of Krishna being with so many gopikas, so many beautiful women around, is somewhere very much minimized and reduced to having an affair or, just a form of romance.
Yeah.
We are honored to welcome a truly extraordinary artist and visionary to our podcast. Rukmini Vijayakumar is a celebrated choreographer, actor, author, and sought-after teacher, inspiring students around the world through her innovative pedagogy, the Radha Kalpa method.
You speak Tamil as well?
Yeah, I speak.
Wow, you're a polyglot.
One of the most difficult things is to act on the knowledge that you already have, he said. So every time I go to my dad with a problem, he will be like, you have done this, you have shouted it, you have done that, and he shouts me. So he doesn't really give me a proper solution. Now when I go to my dad again and ask for a solution, I need it.
Okay. I think I read a Facebook post where you're wearing a beautiful lehenga
Yeah.
during the dance photo shoot. And on the side, you had written, perversity exists in the mind.
It takes a lot of effort to go to someone's social media page or profile, to watch it, to read it, and 3, write something. Write something also is an effort. And write something negative is 3 times the effort.
A 3-time TED speaker, considered one amongst the 100 emerging women leaders, also featured in Vogue India, Rukmini has captivated global audiences with her ideas, reminding us of the power of art as a medium for connection, introspection, and change.
Disassociation doesn't mean that we dress badly. That's not what it is. Like you would do alankaram in a temple, your body is your temple. In today's world, we largely associate this dressing, all of this, as an aspirational level, as if that's the best thing in the world. So people automatically think that if you're covered, you're not objectifying the body, which is a simple enough mistake to make, right? In those days, they wore only one langoti and they danced. Can I dance in a langoti today? Can I say that is traditional? No, it's not possible because the world has changed.
Rukmini, growing up, wanted to be Radha.
When I was young, Krishna was my friend. When I was a teenager, Krishna was my boyfriend. And now he's that supreme consciousness.
And you immediately move into becoming the Devi and your tongue comes out. It's a very fierce form that you take on. What really happens within you when you're performing this?
No, I'm not thinking about Devi, I'm becoming Devi.
Is it empowering to allow your brain to create these situations?
It's cathartic. They, even though it's not real, they feel the emotions of the character.
Rukmini's work embodies discipline, creativity, and a deep spiritual commitment to her craft. Prepare to be inspired by her journey, her wisdom, and her passion for the art of storytelling through dance. We extend our warm welcome to Rukmini on Sacred Pod.
Namaskaram, Rukmini. Welcome to Sacred Pod. It's such a delight to have you on the show. You're like this celestial being I've always watched on Instagram and social media, doing your own thing, moving inward, dancing so beautifully. And finally, I have you on my show. The reason I have you on my show is also because I happened to stumble on a video of yours where you spoke about Jayadeva Ashtapadi.
Okay.
And through that, you said, as you were studying the text, Krishna and Radha were portrayed in such close intimacy that growing up it made you feel very uncomfortable to a point that it felt like, it was shown as pornography.
Yeah.
But only much later did you realize it was not the union of the bodies, but the union of the beings.
Yeah.
It is the higher self that is merging with the self, the Paramatma with the Atma.
Yeah.
And when you gave me that beautiful explanation, you just had my heart. And I knew I had to have this conversation with you.
Okay. I'm really happy to be here.
And I would love for you to share this particular talk that you had in a little more detail with the audience, because the theme of our podcast is spirituality, health, wellness, and relationships. And I think this entire idea of Krishna being with so many gopikas, so many beautiful women around, is somewhere very much minimized and reduced to having an affair or, just a form of romance.
Yeah.
But the way you put it,
Yeah.
I think it had such profound meaning.
So, okay, that's a lot to say about that topic, but let me just start with an idea of what Krishna is, right? Now, when you say Krishna, culturally, as growing up in India, as Hindus, you see this blue-figured god with a peacock feather. He's, he's radiant, and these ISKCON images somehow have become imprinted in our minds. Like he's this gorgeous being, and there are these flowers around him, and all of that. So, while we have this kind of physical idea of what Krishna is, that's more for our own limited understanding. So Krishna, whether we say Krishna or Shiva or Ishvara or Brahman or Devi or Mahamaya, whatever it is, right? All of these ultimately represent that supreme consciousness. And if you say supreme consciousness, it is all pervasive. It's in you, in me, in the small things around us, in this pillow and the floor and the light. So it's there in everything, animate, inanimate, all of it. And this idea of this all-pervasive supreme consciousness is continuously reinforced in everything that we do in life. For example, if you have a ritual of we wake up, and in my house I would have to touch the floor before I got off the bed. Or when I was having a bath, my mother taught me to say that Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sannidhin Kuru. That means like in these waters I bathe. That means you're respecting the water that's bathing you as well. So you keep acknowledging this divinity in small ways in everything around you, whether we do Saraswati Puja or anything for that example, right? So I'm going to cut that short and come back to the Jayadeva Ashtapadi. So while there's this acknowledgement across every action that we have, right? Those are the rituals in reality. They have to reinforce this idea of divinity in everything that we practice, in everything that we do. Now, for us, when we are storytellers, when we write literature, or when we are dancers, we take this same idea of divinity and we infuse it into our daily lives, in the sense that there are romantic relationships, spousal relationships, mother-child relationships, friendships, everything, right? And when this divinity is infused into that, ultimately the seeking is not for a romantic partner. The seeking is to know Krishna. And in knowing Krishna is actually to know that universal consciousness that's all pervasive.
Wow.
And it's to know that we are not separate from this universe. And in finally knowing that, it's not that some light shines and then we join something. That's not what it is. It's that we have better relationships in our own world.
Yes.
Because then there's no animosity, there's no jealousy, there's no this sense of separateness, and also sense of inadequacy that so many of us have faced with this sense of like not being enough, because actually you are whole, you are enough, you are that Tatvamasi, you are that Krishna, you are that Supreme Consciousness. So all these things are not there in our life. So while we are storytellers and dancers and we do classical music and dance, we use these stories because it's easy to relate to. And classical dance actually exists in layers. You either see just the romance, you can see Krishna and Radha getting upset because Krishna is going and talking to some other girl, and Krishna saying, please Radha, come back to me, and Radha getting even more upset, saying, how can you say this? And it's a little comical, it's a little funny, and because, humans have affairs, and humans do these kind of things, and women do get jealous, and men do get jealous, and men do feel sorry, and women feel sorry, and all of these emotions happen in our lives, right? But when you finally do it to Radha and Krishna, you enjoy this relationship because it's relatable, it's close. And then you have this beautiful, gorgeous, blue skin, dark skin. They made it blue, but he's actually just dark skinned.
Yeah.
So this dark skinned, gorgeous man and this beautiful Radha having this fight, suddenly we relate to it. And then when you go into the next level of understanding, which happened to me, and then as I was older, as I was reading more Vedanta, then I was like, oh, that's not what it is. It's actually just Advaita in this. And even Jayadeva says in one of his writings, if people will ultimately read about Krishna and know about Krishna because of his love and his love sports with Radha, so be it.
Oh.
Is what Jayadeva says, So it's also that that is one level of understanding. And then when you study further, you say, okay, that's not what it is. But you have to want it. You can also just enjoy the story and leave. That's also fine when you watch a dance performance. But there is this layer of Radha representing all of us who are, seeking, and Krishna representing that which is sought in terms of that all-pervasive consciousness. And Radha actually is not separate from Krishna. They are one. So, and there are many other stories that actually show that, They have simple things like, when Radha and Krishna, we have this beautiful episode where Radha will exchange clothes with Krishna. And then after they exchange clothes, Radha is now dressed as Krishna. And then they come searching, who is the one who stole the butter? And they catch hold of Radha, and she's like, it's not me, it's him. Like, I'm not Krishna, it's her. But now she's caught because they mistake her for Krishna. So these simple stories kind of signify that non-separateness. But actually there's more. It's just funny, right? Like, she just exchanged clothes and now she got caught for butter stealing. But in reality, what it's showing is that there is this idea of non-separateness with that all-pervasive consciousness. It is the same in me, it's the same in you, it's the same in every creature on this earth. And it's the same even in what we consider as inanimate.
Yes.
So this divinity is all-pervasive, is kind of what it says. We believe that we are separate, but in reality, we're not. It was a very long answer to a short question.
Tell me something, Rukmini. It's such a beautiful idea, this entire concept of feeling that oneness. And I think dance and music bring forth a lot more of oneness. So say if I'm doing yoga, I can only experience that oneness if I am doing it. But dance is not like that. I can watch you dancing and I can still feel that oneness with you.
Yeah.
I can feel that with music.
Yeah.
As much as I do understand this oneness, and I study the texts and they're talking about this higher reality, intellectually I do understand it.
Yeah.
But again, when we get into the real world, how much of this really gets assimilated into us, and how has Vedanta really changed your relationship with the world and with your closest family?
I think, oneness is not something that you necessarily feel. So if you look at emotions happen in your mind. So when it happens in your mind, it's something that is just there in your mind. Emotions are an action of the mind, right? Now, if you look at understanding, we understand, it also happens in your mind, but to have a distinction, you would say that it happens in your intellect, perhaps, but essentially the mind and intellect would be in the same strata. So the emotions often overwhelm us. So we are not really feeling oneness. Oneness is something that is to be understood, and it's to be constantly contemplated on and constantly reinforced within our lives. So if I understand that you and me are essentially from the same, like I use this word fabric of creation because for a lack of a better word.
Beautiful.
So we're from the same thing. And let's say you upset me now and you say something rude to me. Now I have the choice to react and say something rude back to you, or say, okay, she said something rude. So, all right, let's continue. So it allows me to then step back and then not react emotionally. I mean, it's very difficult for me to explain in how many ways, but it's in so many small ways, but it happens continuously with mindful contemplation. It doesn't mean like, just because I understand this concept or this idea of what oneness is, of that intelligent creation being in everything from the earth to the sky to, like the amoeba to a sweet little puppy or, a caterpillar. I'm saying that it doesn't immediately permeate into, like, it's not like a realization moment, or it's not that when I dance, I'm with that moment. In reality, when I dance, there is a certain awareness that exists. I've written about this in my book, actually. I wrote a book called Finding Shiva. Yeah. So it was about, not necessarily about how dancing is. See, there are two aspects. One is, if I dance and I just feel good and I feel released, which is what you feel when you do, like when I do yoga, right? I just do yoga, it centers me, it helps me bring my thoughts to one, because I'm not checking my phone, I'm not like doing multiple things, I'm not taking calls, it centers you.
It cleans the impurities.
Exactly. It centers your mind, it brings your mind to a point of concentration. But where do you go from there? So once you exit the yoga class, someone comes and bangs your new car. How do you react to that now?
That's where yoga begins off the mat.
Correct. So it is that, where do you take the single point of concentration and where do you take it to? Dance in the larger sense does the same thing that yoga does. Now, I specifically speak about dance when I'm depicting a character and I'm in a scenario. This goes for acting as well, I would presume. So let's say I am, because we're talking about classical dance, let's say I am Ravana and I have this absolute, this kind of entitlement that I have, and Sita is mine, I have taken her, and now there is this man who stands between me and Sita, and he's insulting me, and I have to go to kill him. Now, physically, I am stronger than the guy playing Rama. If my anger overwhelms me, I can definitely kill this Rama on stage for sure, right? But now, even though I am in character, I have this arrogance kind of fulfill this, and you can never judge a character. So you play the character like their thoughts are your thoughts, right? So I have this, I'm fighting with Rama, and yet I succumb to him at the end and I die on stage, right? I don't kill him, even though I have the power to kill him. And even though I'm playing the character, I am overwhelmed by the emotions. I do feel this deep desire for Sita, and I do feel this hatred and anger towards Rama, but still I don't kill him. What prevents me from killing him is this umbrella of awareness, right? And let's say I play Ravana now. There's a mukta, tadinginatam, 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 tatam, 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 tam. Ravana dead. Okay? Now I get up, I quickly go back, and within a second, I just change my clothes and I come back out as Krishna because it's the next scene or something, the next avatar. Okay, and now I am Krishna. So, or I change, or let's say sometimes I don't even have another Sita. I die and I wake up and I'm standing there as Mandodari watching Ravana die. So there's an ending emotion and then you switch the character and you have something else. Then you finish this emotion, you have another emotion. So you can go from absolute pathos to joy and from exalted joy to like anger and from anger to angst, and the emotions switch like this. And it's not fake emotions. You're overwhelmed, you're sweating with anger, like your teeth are gritting, like you have thing. And then when you have pathos, you have tears flowing because you just can't control it. But there is an awareness that exists on top.
That you're living that emotion, but you know it's not you.
Correct. But that's how you need to live life.
There's something very interesting that you said, that if I judge Ravana, I will never be able to play that part effectively. Why did you say that?
Because you can't. As an actor, you can't play a part if you judge the character. Because if I'm playing Ravana and I say, let's say I'm playing a serial killer, and I'm like, what kind of guy would kill so many people? And then I'm playing the thing, what kind of guy would say? You're never going to be that serial killer.
Sure.
So each person has a real justification for the emotions that they feel.
Correct. Absolutely.
So when you play a character, this is not philosophy really, it's like an acting thing. When you play a character, you don't judge it, you just play it. And you find justification for their actions. That's the job. So I find justifications for why Ravana would take Sita. I will find justifications for the serial killer, like why he would kill these people.
And even in real life, so you speak to a murderer, you speak to a terrorist, they have their own perspective.
Yeah, of course.
They've convinced themselves that this is right.
Yeah.
You might look at it as trauma, but they're convinced.
No,
that they're doing the right thing.
They have a reason for doing it. So I'm saying, philosophically speaking, when you take on these characters, there's an umbrella of awareness. So when the awareness exists, you are playing the character wholesomely, convincingly, really. But then you conclude and you switch. You conclude and you switch. You conclude and you play. But in life, we play characters, right? Now you may play a wife, you play a mother, you play a friend, a teacher, a yoga teacher. And each one is different. Now, if I let my sorrow engulf me now, I can't function for the rest of the day.
Correct.
Let's say something affects me, I am sorrow. And then there's no muktayam, it just continues.
But this awareness comes through practice. It's not knowing it intellectually. Either it happens through yoga, where you do a certain pranayam, you do asana, then that cleansing is happening. So the prana that enters the system is giving room for more clarity.
Yeah.
But for a normal person who's just listening to this, suddenly you're overwhelmed, your mind is somewhere, you get triggered.
Yeah.
So I think awareness is a moment-to-moment practice. Almost about also taking into consideration introspection. And that only works for people who have understood that we want to function better in the world, more effectively, and we want to be better individuals.
Right.
Because if that inclination and motivation is not there, they're very happy doing their own thing, very happy playing the victim card, very happy actually causing hurt and still portraying like they were the ones hurt in the situation.
Yeah.
And this happens very prominently in close relationships, whether it's parent, child, whether it's siblings, whether it's spouse, close friends.
Yeah.
And that's where I think in yoga we are taught about yama niyamas, where we are taught healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
And when we talk about healthy boundaries, this is just a sharing because you're someone who shares a common interest. And I just feel evoked to share this with you. Where they said, if I'm having a difficult relationship with my mother, I am probably a mirror to my mother.
Right.
And that's exactly why that relationship has that kind of constriction, where every time she says something or does something that triggers me, and it's vice versa. It's almost like I'm a mirror.
Right.
So while keeping healthy boundaries, again, as much as distance is important,
Yeah.
as much as you try to help them understand that you be patient with the situation. But also yoga teaches us, you can feel hurt and portray not to be hurt. Then again, that is not yoga. That's where it gets complicated. So you bought something very interesting where you said, I said something rude to you and you have a choice. But the choice is, are you really liberated in that moment? And what I said really didn't touch you and permeate through you? Then that is liberation.
Yeah.
And that I feel only happens when you're not identified with what I have said, where
Yeah,
you've really
correct.
found yourself.
Yeah.
But if you're hurt, but somewhere you have this idea that, no, I'm not supposed to be hurt. So let me just pretend like I'm not hurt. But the injury has already happened.
But you'll still be hurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think this actually applies, this goes in many layers.
Yeah.
It's just not about pretending that this is not hurt me, but also understanding, yes, if my mother says something, it does hurt me.
Yeah.
So then how can I go about this situation?
So it's more about, what I'm saying is that it's not that these emotions are not real. They exist. So if you lose someone, right, you're obviously going to be hurt. You're going to have grief. And you acknowledge the grief.
Yes.
You let it be. But then you don't let the grief take over you.
Yeah.
You have the grief. And you feel it. And then you continue living your life. So it's not that you reject an emotion that comes over. But the moment you see it and acknowledge it, you begin to have control over it.
Yes.
Then I can put it into practice in my life. So let's say this morning, I'm struggling with reacting to some, like you said, a difficult situation with, I don't know, a family member, a friend, somebody, for example. And I've been trying to deal with this negative relationship that I have with a friend. And every time I ask them something doesn't go right. One of the most important things I think that I've learned from Vedanta is like acknowledging not just my emotions, but also my environment. So if, like, say, I know this particular friend of mine is always going to put themselves first, right? I know that's how they are. That is not going to change. Yeah. Most of our misery comes from expecting something else from someone. Like now I know I have a reactive dog.
Yes.
Right? So if my dog is in the house with me, he's amazing. He's absolutely the sweetest thing you can ever find. But if I walk him out and a stranger suddenly approaches, he wants to bite them. Right? So if I say sweet dog, I was like, you be really sweet to him, he won't bite you. It's not true. He's going to bite them. That's his nature. That's how he is. So with training, he gets a little bit better and a little bit more comfortable based on how I introduce, what I do. But now I'm working with his reactivity. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So but because it's an animal, we don't have a choice. But when it's a human, we think we have a choice. We actually don't. So if there is a selfish friend, you don't have a choice. The friend is selfish. So if you want to keep your friendship, you work with the selfishness.
Because isn't this the same even with the dog? You're working with the reactivity, right?
Correct. But with the dog, everyone will work with it.
Okay.
But with a friend, so now I'm not getting disappointed, right? Oh, my dog is reactive. He's so rude to me. He went to bed. So it's not like,
you've accepted it, you've seen it, and you found a solution.
Yeah, and we keep trying to find solutions. Sometimes it's frustrating because I feel like I'm going to fall off on the street. But otherwise, it's pretty much, you're working with it. But because it's an animal, it's a tiger, it's a snake, you know how it is. So all of us work with these animals. So be like, don't approach the snake like that. Its fangs will go into your skin. Like, oh, that's a rat snake. It won't do anything. Oh, that's a python. You can keep it on your shoulder, but if you leave it there too long, it might strangle you. Mm-hmm. So we have rules.
The core values, more like the innate personality.
Humans have that too. Yes. But most of the time, our interactions have an expectation of what we want that other human being to be.
Yeah.
And it's something even I'm struggling with. I'm not saying that know. But I'm saying we all have that expectation. When we have that expectation, then we kind of become saddened by what we receive because they are not doing and acting the way that...
We've attached an outcome, right?
Yes.
We want the other person to make us feel loved, feel comfortable.
Correct.
We're expecting all that from another source.
But we need to see it for what it is, without judgment, without thing. You say, okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, like so many things, so many situations, situation A, B, C. So it's also, I read something very interesting. Like, actually, one of my friends told me this recently. One of the most difficult things is to act on the knowledge that you already have, he said. Is have the courage to act on the knowledge that you already have. So now, this is exactly the same thing.
Can you explain that a little bit?
So let's say you have knowledge. So it's the way I understood what he said. Okay. So if I say I act on the knowledge that I already have, I have the knowledge that this particular person behaves a certain way. Let's say it's your friend, your mom, your dad, whoever. So every time I go to my dad with a problem, he will be like, you have done this, you have shouted it, you have done blah, blah, and he shouts at me. So he doesn't really give me a proper solution, right? So, and this has happened over 20 years, let's say.
Yes.
Fine. Now, when I go to my dad again and ask for a solution, I'm the idiot.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Because they're close to you, you feel they need to change. But nobody is going to change.
So what happens in this situation? Either you have a choice to step away.
It's not a step away. So if they're your dad or your mom or your spouse or your child, your brother, somebody who's really close to you, and you have to make the choice. Do you want to keep them in your life?
Yes.
You want to keep them in your life? Then you deal with the fact that they are selfish.
Yes.
You don't want to keep them in your life? Then say, okay, I will let go.
Yeah.
But going there each time and trying to expect something different is not going to happen.
Correct.
Because they are who they are.
Yes.
And nothing you or I do is going to change them.
Yes.
So it's to act on what I see. I have this information.
Yeah.
I have this information that this person is whatever, that selfish friend or this dad who's not giving solutions. All like fake situations. But that's their
the reality.
That's the reality. That's who they are. So now I need to be innovative enough to find something else to keep this interaction. So then instead of saying I have this issue, I say I don't want to bring my issues. Let me just ask my dad how his day was.
Yeah.
How was your day? Did you have coffee? How's the thing? What did you read in the news?
Change the dynamic of the relationship.
Yeah, what did you read in the news? Okay, great. Lovely. And so you have suddenly a different conversation. You're not seeking because you're not going to get this from him. And you move on. You know? So it becomes really simple because you're interacting and you're not expecting a snake not to bite. You're not expecting sewage not to stink. Like, it's going to snap.
Yes. It makes sense.
You know?
Yeah. So how did acting come into your life? How did you first get this opportunity?
I think I'm a better actor than I'm a dancer, honestly speaking.
You feel that way?
Yeah, I do. I work very hard at dancing.
I can see that.
Very hard.
I can see that. You work extremely hard.
But within my dancing space, my abhinaya, that expression, that thing which after a show, what people remember, that's what I work the least on. Because I feel like it's easy for me to enter imaginary worlds. It's easier than like dancing, you know, and like take on characters, take on their minds. But how did acting happen? Let me answer that question. I think acting, I used to model on the side when I was in high school.
You're a very familiar face. No wonder when I seen you on social media, I was just trying to recollect, where did I see this person?
There's some random ads, high school for, college for.
Back in
pocket
the day.
Money. Yeah.
And parents allowed you.
Yeah, they do. Bharati Raja saw me in an ad. And I did my first movie with him, which was a Tamil movie. And then I did...
Were you a natural in the first movie?
I don't know. I think you'll have to ask the people who worked with me.
How did you feel?
I felt good. Like I think I was very young, so I didn't really know how to take
How old were you?
instructions. It's been 19, 20.
Very young.
Yeah, I didn't know how to take instructions well. So if they're like, you do this, you do that, no. But if I got the character, I could do it. So he let me improvise a lot. So he would give me a situation, and Nanaji was there. So I think a lot of the scenes were improvised.
This was in Kannada, right?
In Tamil.
Tamil. Okay. You speak Tamil as well?
Yeah, I speak Tamil.
Wow. You're a polyglot. How many languages do you speak?
No, I mean, I'm not very good at Tamil. I mean, I'm best at English. I think Kannada would come second. Tamil would come third. Hindi is somewhere in there. I have really bad.
You understand
Hindi.
Telugu?
Yeah, I understand.
It's very similar
Little bit of
to
Telugu,
Kannada,
yeah.
right?
So, yeah. But I mean, if I have a script, I can memorize and do.
So Sitaramam, did you say your own dialogues in
Yeah,
Telugu?
I did. But I wasn't there for the dubbing. So I wasn't in town. So after that, they were just here and there and all that. But I concentrated a lot more on dancing after that.
So if acting came naturally, anyone would take the easier route. Why do you want to put so much effort into dance?
I really love dancing. I love dancing. But see, the thing with acting is that if you want to be an actor in films, there's a lot of appendages with the business of acting, which I'm not so sure I'm very good at. Because you
like
at that time, I think it's changed now. When you're young, you would have to like go to Bombay, meet a lot of people, go to London, so many auditions and all of that. And I found that really, really tiring when I had dancing for me waiting every day, and I love dancing, like absolutely love it. It's not necessary that, and I love acting, but I'm not so sure that I'm cut out to do the business of acting full time. Does that make sense? Like dancing centers me.
You are a natural on screen. Anybody who would have watched you in Sitaramam,
oh yeah,
when we look at you next to Mrunal, you almost look like you've lived that life. You've lived that character fully.
Yeah.
The character of a friend, giving her so much wisdom, tell him the truth.
Yeah.
There's so much integrity to that character. It was very beautiful.
Thanks. This is a very small role, but thanks.
It was, but you left a very strong footprint in the film. People would know that you were there. And that's how I remembered, and I could connect back the dots. I remember seeing her in the film.
Thanks.
Did you choreograph the dance sequence for Mrunal?
No, I didn't. I wasn't there.
Was that Bharatanatyam in the movie?
I think they've taken from Bharatanatyam. Yeah.
Seeing you in that particular shot, I thought you were the teacher in the movie.
No, I wasn't there.
So are you continuing to act now?
I do. I mean, if whenever people invite me for things, I do. I would love to act more. I think also for me, it was a choice then that when my body is young, I can dance. And when I'm older, I can still act, right? Because your body gives way later and you can't dance as much and you can't train as much. So I kind of had the opposite thinking. So when I got a lot of movie offers, I was like, no, I need to finish dance school now. I'm not going to come right now. And finish dance school, and then we'll see about acting after.
You portrayed a particular creative piece of art called something on abduction.
Yeah.
Was it inspired from something from the environment?
Yeah, it's I called it Abducted actually, but it was about many stories of abuse of women that I heard firsthand. They're very sad stories, and I'm thankful to be one of the people that these women shared the story with. Some of them have never told anybody. Some of them I'm the only person, like the first person they were able to speak to. So, and it's happened to many women. So while there's the big Me Too movement and all of that, I think that targeted people who were more in higher position of power. But sexual abuse for women as well as, I guess, men as well, it happens in homes, like in normal homes across societies, with people who are not in positions of power or anything like that. And it's recurring and it happens constantly. And these are the stories that are never heard and they're never told. And many of these people carry this weight through their whole lives
Yes.
alone. Like nobody ever says anything.
Yes.
And it has not just emotional, it has physical repercussions on them because of their emotional state of being, So I felt like I wanted to make a piece that didn't trivialize this, but at the same time kind of question what do we do as human beings and society to kind of facilitate this kind of actions in our surroundings. And some of it was about how we, as a construct of society, where in every culture they have a place for women. You learned embroidery, you wear a corset, you sit and do the cooking. Like there are different positions
Be
that
a mother.
Women are required to take. And if they don't take those positions, and there's this idea of femininity that is there, you be feminine, or there's the opposite also. You give up your femininity and wear a pantsuit the moment you're in a position of power.
Sorry to interrupt here, but I think I read a Facebook post where you're wearing a beautiful lehenga
Yeah.
during a dance photo
Yeah.
shoot. And on the side, you had written, perversity exists in the mind.
Mm.
And when I read the post completely,
Yeah.
There's a certain expectation from the world to always look at the Bharatanatyam dancer
Yeah.
in a certain
Yeah.
clothing.
Yeah. It is there.
How do you receive all of this? Do you feel like you're owned by these people because you're a public figure? Is there compassion, or what do you tell yourself?
I mean, I don't actually care because I don't think it matters. And see, I'll tell you one thing, it takes a lot of effort to go to someone's whatever social media page or profile, to watch it, to read it, and 3, write something. Write something also is an effort, right? And write something negative is 3 times the effort.
That's how you look at it.
So to write something nice doesn't take much, right? You say, wow, you look great. Nice photo. Beautiful picture. See, this is writing something nice. It's not so much effort. But when you have to write something mean, it's more effort.
That's a reflection of them.
So actually, they are more trouble than me.
Yeah.
So they have something, their cortisol levels are going up, not mine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really doesn't bother me.
But why is this expectation on a Bharatanatyam dancer or a yoga teacher to always be seen in a certain attire?
I think the attire is a limitation of what people feel themselves. I don't blame them. I think in olden days, right, in India, we were more liberated. Have you seen the temples?
Yes.
Nobody's wearing anything and nobody cares because they were not in that level of recognition with their bodies at all.
Yes.
The body was just a vehicle.
Yes.
In this lifetime.
Yes.
And that's all it was. And they saw it like that and they moved on.
Mm.
So it wasn't like some big thing. Now, even ourselves, I'm not excluding myself, we lay a lot of importance on our bodies.
Yes.
How we look. I have lipstick on, you have lipstick on.
Yes.
I have mascara on. So we don't really separate ourselves from this as we may try. Right? Maybe there are some choices I just wouldn't make, but I still wear some makeup. Right? So we are still associated with this body. We still disassociation doesn't mean that we dress badly. That's not what it is. But there is a respect that we have, like you would how do you say, like you would do alankaram in a temple. Your body is your temple.
Yes.
You do that alankaram and you respect it. That's why they say you wear the bindi, right? It's like this thing of the alankaram. So you comb your hair, you wash your face, you clean yourself because this is your temple. This is the temple we live in. We do the alankaram, we wear the thing, we dress up, we go out. In that respect, you wear You wear some makeup, you do the alankaram, and you go out, it's fine. But what happens with this is that in today's world, we largely associate this dressing, all of this, to a certain, I don't know, as an aspirational level, as if that's the best thing in the world, you know. And there is so much attachment to the body and also objectification of the body, both. So people automatically think that if you're covered, you're not objectifying the body, which is a simple enough mistake to make, right? But it's not true.
It's not true. When you look at women who are abused, it's not true.
It's not true. So many times the abusers actually remember what they're wearing.
Yeah.
And they remember they were dressed well. I was wearing a salwar, I was wearing a dupatta.
Why does it happen to children? If you're talking about objectifying.
Exactly. Child, 3 years old. How is it possible?
Because the perversity is in the mind.
The perversity is in the mind. At the same time, there is also a perversity that exists in, how do I say, like, it's a big mix. You can't really, I don't really fault them for saying, oh, you wear this. I'm like, okay, fine. It's too bad you don't get it. But
it works for you.
It's not, I don't have anything. If I'm going to go to the ocean, I'm going to wear a bikini. I can't wear this pantsuit or my sari and go into the ocean.
The functionality of the clothing.
I'll die. Like, some shark will catch hold of my sari. And it's like, it's not possible. I can't, I mean, I did do a film in a sari underwater, but it's not possible to do on a daily basis.
You're being practical. That clothing needs to be functional.
It is functional. So in those days, they wore only one langoti and they danced. Can I dance in a langoti today? I can't, right? Yes. I have to wear something else. I have to wear something more because it's not appropriate.
Yes.
So I wear something more. That's all. In those days, they just wear jewelry. They wear one cloth tied over here and they did all the dancing in poses. Yes. Can I do that today? No, I can't.
Yes.
Can I say that is traditional? No, it's not possible because the world has changed. So while people may have their own perceptions, I have a life to live.
Yes.
And the perversity is within their own minds.
Yeah.
So let's say I have this intention. I have the intention of I'm just going out. So if you think she's trying to show off her body, okay, you think that.
You've given them that freedom to think.
There's no problem. I don't give any freedom. They can all think whatever they want. I'm nobody to give anybody any freedom.
I mean, you've separated yourself from the idea.
So they can think. Let them think. I'm wearing it because I'm going out. You want to think something else? Think. Enjoy yourself.
So at such a young age, what gave you the courage to defer a Carnegie Mellon application and to take to Bharatanatyam dance? That is not what an average Indian would do. And I'm sure that sets you apart today. But at that age, what was going on in your mind?
I don't know. I think it was one of the hardest decisions I ever made.
And at that point, you were also reluctant if dance was for you, right?
Yeah, I was reluctant. I think one, it was because my parents said you can. I think it was more about the fact that I knew if I went to Carnegie Mellon, it was a very straight road. I was always a studious kid. I knew I would study, I would do well, it would think. This was very wild and variable. And I also felt that I was always like that very contemplative kind of thing. And I always felt like dance kept me closer to myself somehow. So I said, okay, let me dance.
At what age were you introduced to dance?
Maybe 5.
Was your mother a dancer?
Yeah, she used to dance not professionally, but she used to go to dance class as a hobby. She danced for a very long time. Yeah.
What were your biggest challenges during this journey of taking up dance as a profession? Because you teach, you choreograph. I'm sure once you're a student of dance, it's a continuous learning. It's not like you're a teacher, but you're still learning.
Yeah, you're always learning.
Yeah. So how was this journey?
I think I'd say it's been quite beautiful, to be honest. It comes with its challenges, no doubt, as does everything. But I think I think I would say that one of the most difficult things that people would think is to be alone and do everything alone. But for me, that's fine. I'm okay. So I wake up early. Um, I do my yoga alone. I practice alone. I train alone. I choreograph alone. And the only time I'm with people is when I'm teaching my dance class or if I'm choreographing on my company. But my company, I don't choreograph every day or throughout the year. So most of it you do by yourself. I also travel alone. So there's a lot of time that you spend alone. So I think the hardest thing for most people, I think, would be to be alone but not be lonely. But I'm someone who thrives in that. So
Likewise.
yeah, so it's completely okay for me. It's
I
like
know what
during
you're saying.
COVID, my husband was telling me, I was like, this is amazing. And then I would get up and I would do my yoga at 4:30, then I would do this, and I would do something else, and I would read, I had a whole schedule and I could fit in so many things in the day and I would come back. It's like, it makes no difference to you. I was like, this is, yeah, I mean, obviously it was really not conducive in world situation.
Yes.
But the fact that you were tied down to your house, I was thriving work-wise in the sense that in terms of growth
Creativity.
for artistic and creative growth. Emotionally, probably not, because it was not a great time. I lost my dad and everything. But otherwise, it's absolutely fine for me to be just quiet. So that might be one of the hardest things for, if I were to tell someone else what's hard, that would be. I think the other thing is that dance in general is very volatile. So you have to be a hustler. You have to keep figuring out what can you do next, especially if you need financial stability. So you need to make that way for yourself. And it can come from multiple things. And
is dance a good career if to earn a livelihood?
For me, it's fine. But no, it's not. For none of my senior students, it is. So it's a very big, I would say it's a hit or miss.
So you have to keep creating opportunity and work.
You have to create opportunities. I think most classical dancers end up teaching a lot to do it. I also did used to teach a lot in the beginning. But it's more about maneuvering your performance, choreography, creative side along with things that generate revenue. Some dancers end up also doing natvangam for others. Some of them sing. I know there's some younger dancers who have chosen to do announcements and that kind of thing for other dancers. Some of them do makeup. So it's very important to find a pending arts that would help you sustain if you want to stay within the field. And a majority of them just have a regular job. They have a regular job and then they dance outside of it. Because it's really not possible to pay the bills and just be a classical dancer full time.
Yeah.
But many of them just start dance schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the Radha Kalpa method all about, which you have started? This is a different pedagogy in the Bharatanatyam sphere.
So I'll give you a short answer to this. When I was learning dance, there were lots of things that were wrong with my body. In the sense that I would get knee pain and then I would have to sit out of a workshop. Then I would want to balance. I didn't know how to balance. My postures, if I watched the video, it would look not so great. So then I had to do my own learning. So even when I was 16 or 17, I think I started trying to watch myself and watch other things like what's wrong. And I would also, at that time, I did this survey. I went to different dance schools in Bangalore and I asked them, what do you do for your warm-up? What exercise did you do? What is this? Then there were these online forums at that time. This is like 25 years ago, right? So I would go to these online forums and be like, what are the injuries? How do you treat this? What do you do? And there was not much knowledge around this at that time at all. So then I started with my yoga teacher and also my ballet teacher. Both of them at that time, when I was 14, 15, around that time, I started again. I learned a lot about anatomy and alignment and positioning. My ballet teacher at that time was Yana, and Arun sir, the BK Sanger style, he was my yoga teacher. So I learned a lot about musculature and, like body, weight, what's engaging, what's disengaging. And then I went to study further.
BK Sanger's father was a
Senior student.
Arun.
Arun sir. So when I started studying anatomy and physiology after that in college, and when I went to ballet and modern school, I started understanding a little more. And all of this I started applying to my Bharatanatyam. So one is the physical side, the other side is the emotive aspect, in terms of how do you bring this imaginative sphere. So we used to be taught Abhinaya gesturally, which is traditionally done even now. And it's a wonderful way to learn how to keep your hand, how to keep your elbows. So we were taught gestures and the lyrics, right? But I was a kind of kid who would sit outside the window and create my own world, like near a window. So I would see different things and see a train and see like a field. So I always had a very versatile imagination. So I think acting school plus working with theatre helped me kind of develop and create some finesse in this kind of applying this imaginative sphere into a performance sphere. So all this learning that I got, not from one source, from whether yoga, my ballet teacher, many other ballet teachers in school after that, subsequently for the next 6 years, from modern dance pedagogy, then Alexander technique, and then I did my Pilates certification. So from Pilates, so there was all this other world of knowledge that I had on anatomy, which then I kept applying to my Bharatanatyam. Oh, wait, I need a back like this. Wait, this my weight. Oh, I can't bend this because my hamstring is tight. Wait, I need to balance this because my glutes are not firing. I need this to work. Oh, my rotators need to be working here. So then suddenly there was all this cross-pollination, and I can't say it's this and this. So many people say, oh, if I learn ballet, would it help? I'm like, not exactly, because it's like
cumulative
it's a cumulative 20 years of like so many different things. Plus, when all this knowledge is fed in, it's like other things that come out.
Yeah.
So I can't say I have taken this from this. It's not like extracting this.
But you've taken it because you understood your body at that point. You knew what you needed. And that's why you were able to
It's not like a direct, I take this exercise from yoga, I take this exercise from Pilates. That's not what it is. It's about using it, and then in Bharatanatyam, how it comes out. So the system is more about a cumulative learning from so many different ideas, but that's what every new system is. Like if you do Pilates, it's a cumulative learning of something that they had somewhere else, and it comes out as something else.
It's inspired from yoga, but using machinery.
Yeah. Yes. So with the Radha Kalpa method, it's a cumulative learning from many different things, including the Natya Shastra. Plus, I guess I read a lot of Stanislavski. I did some acting classes with that. So there's a multitude of things. And when I started teaching my students, because it was intuitive in my body and all the learning had come and I was just doing it. I didn't have to teach it to anyone. And when I started teaching it to my students, I want to say in 2012 or 11 or something like that, I had to like break it down. And in the beginning, I would really, really struggle. I had made some kind of system. I think in 2008, I had written down the warm-ups, the thing you should do, what for Bharatanatyam, everything. I have the old book. But I had evolved by then, between over the 5 years of non-teaching. So then I had to like kind of keep creating like plans and systems and say, no, you need to do this before you do this out of is not working, we need to do this. And by constantly trying to solve problems in their bodies, I think the system evolved. So I started calling it the Radha Kalpa method only about 4-5 years ago, I think.
Why do you call
that
it
is-
Radha Kalpa?
That's another that's another story. But yeah, so this is what the Radha Kalpa method is. Radha Kalpa, because I think you said the Ashtapadi, right? That's why I call it Radha. The idea of Radha. That's what made me dance and stay with dancing.
Through one of your talks, you did mention that Rukmini growing up wanted to be Radha.
Yeah.
Why was the desire so important to you at that point, and what really created it?
I think it's my environment and what I was exposed to from when I was young. And it's also this camaraderie that you have with little Krishna when you're a kid. From the stories your mom tells you, my grandmom tells you, the stories that you hear and talks, right? So when I was young, Krishna was my friend. When I was a teenager, Krishna was my boyfriend. And now he's that supreme consciousness. So it was, I think it was like a
Evolution.
Yeah, it's a progression. And it's not that you hang on to this, Krishna is going to appear and suddenly bless me. That's not what it is.
Yeah.
It's this, and it's so beautifully done, like in the stories in the Bhagavatam or whatever. You develop this camaraderie with this idea.
Yeah.
This. I think that's why it was so important for me to, I guess,
have him in your life.
Yeah, be Radha, because it's more about I want to understand this. Okay. And I want to be better as a human being, and I want to evolve as a person and hopefully be that source of comfort.
There's this very beautiful dance that you had put out on your YouTube channel, Discovering Devi.
Yeah.
And you immediately move into becoming the Devi, and your tongue comes out. It's a very fierce form that you take on. What really happens within you when you're performing this? Is there a certain preparation that happens within you? Are you thinking about how Devi would have been in that situation?
No, I'm not thinking about Devi. I'm becoming Devi. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I think sometimes, very rarely, I won't put my tongue out. But that's when I don't feel it. Like, it's not like I haven't taken on the character fully. Because then it'll look comical, it'll look silly, it'll look fake, like I'm going, like it looks thing. But if I'm able to feel that, that, see, for me, Devi as a character that I'm portraying would be this kind, loving, beautiful, sensuous, absolutely stunning creature that has this kind of power that can just take on the world, and if anyone is hurt, she can come out and take that on herself to like finish that task or end that person. So when I have that moment of that trigger of like, I'm going to take this on, then I can take my tongue out. So, because that's how Kali is portrayed. Right?
Yes.
So there's a lot of heat rising up. I do get goosebumps sometimes. If I were to voice it, I think it would be like really loud.
So when they're shooting all of this happens in a complete sequence. You don't break it.
Don't stop.
You don't stop. That's why you're able to live that emotion fully.
No, you can you can do it even if you stop. I just don't, because we normally have limited budgets. We have one camera and then we just like do it really fast. So we don't have the whole day to like stop, retake, take the other side and all that. So most of the dance videos I put up during COVID were like, because my friends who are videographers, also wanted something to do, and I also wanted something to do, and we're like, let's do it together.
How do you
Uh,
find these beautiful spots, the forests and the landscapes?
The forest is just my parents' farm,
Oh, okay.
so it was just easy to go to, and we would just hang out there and do it. Discovering Devi, someone offered us their space. We asked them.
Why do you kill that lady there during that
Uh,
performance?
she's destroying the ego.
It's destroying the ego. Okay.
So she is in her mind. She's a seeker, and she comes. She does the puja in the beginning, and then she offers, and then when she starts her Om, when she starts the Bija mantra, Devi comes out, and then she keeps asking Rupam Dehi, Jayam Dehi, Yasho Dehi, and in the end she says Dvisho Dehi. So like remove all my inner angst and thing. So in the end, when Devi arrives, it's like she's coming and she appears, and finally when she comes in, she's like she takes the. It's like when the trident strikes her heart. It's like at the end of it, there's like her individuality, her ego, her sense of doership is gone, and she sees the world.
Even your dressing, the Bharatanatyam costume is very unique.
Yeah.
Is there a particular reason you designed it
It's
like
just
that?
easier to dance.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much work really goes into making a costume?
I just design it. The tailor does the work. So I remember the first time it's just that when they would tuck in that pallu, right? And I would sometimes do karanas, which are like Paduka's system of movement, that she revived from the Natya Shastra. So in the karana, sometimes there are back bends and all that. This pallu would come outside and it would hang out. And in the middle of the program, I had no idea how to like tuck it back in. And there are these threads also that go across. So that thread also would half come out because of the back bends or side bends and all that. So I found it very uncomfortable, that traditional costume, because by the end of it, it would be like, I don't say traditional costume because traditionally they only draped a sari. This is that new kind of mid-modern stitched costume. So those threads would all be hanging outside. So I went to the tailor once and I drew it to him. I said, please do one thing. I want two things. I don't want this fan to come out because a fan, that button thing is really irritating me. And sometimes it comes out. So stitch my fan to the pant. So I bought some material that would not need such amazing ironing because it's not that jerry thing. I used Georgette and something else, some other material which would fall
very
easily.
Modern fabrics, yes.
Which would not really need that detailed ironing. It's not to look modern or cool.
Maintenance, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to iron it because if it's stitched to the pant, it's very difficult to iron. So I got this other material. I told him, stitch it to the pant. Then the second thing I did was I said, stitch the pallu here. But I want something to look like a sari because now everything is tucked in and it looks too thin. So I told him, leave that pallu hanging down like it's a sari. So this guy went ahead and stitched that things. I was like, I want it hanging like a pallu, I said. But anyway, because it stitched it, that became the thing the first time. I wanted it like, hanging like a pallu. He's like, no, ma'am, the Adanjala Arku, it would be in the middle, and also I stitched it up. So I was like, fine, okay, leave it. Just thing. So now it's like a folded, pleated pallu that hangs down, which is still okay. How that you've reminded me of this, I think next one I'll ask them to.
Do your students also wear a similar
costume? Yeah, they wear a similar costume.
Okay.
So I did that because it's just easier to dance in. That's all. And people think it's modern and all that. I'm like, how is it modern? It's still a sari. It's the same thing. It's very traditional. It's just that I stitched the pallu and I stitched the fan. So that even this stitched costume which everyone is wearing is modern. Then typically everyone should just drape a sari without a blouse.
What keeps you going, Rukmini? I know you dance because I want to read something that you said. Bharatanatyam was my first vocabulary. For a while, I just wanted to dance. It really didn't matter to me what kind of dance. But I came back to Bharatanatyam by my own choice with a stronger will and a greater conviction. What keeps you going in terms of, I do understand after having this conversation, dance is important to you. You have a lot of reverence for the art form. But where is it taking you? And what is the destination?
I don't think I have any destination. I just have one day at a time, I guess. And in terms of dancing, right? Like you said, for me, dance is dance is dance. I can dance anything, and I just like movement. So if you give me Kalari, I will do Kalari. You give me, like, I don't know, Parkour fitness. I had some obsession. I will go do that. You give me, I don't know, Afro-Cuban dancing, I'll do that. Salsa, I'll do that. You want this thing? Anything that makes me move, I thrive in. It doesn't matter if I'm good at it. I can be horrible at it. I'm horrible at hip-hop. But you give me a hip-hop class and I'll be like, yeah, all right, let's do that. Because it's just movement. I just love movement, which is why I think I like running. I like being in the ocean. So it's I think it's a way for me to have that meditative single point. In meditation, the first thing you try to, it's not about thinking about, you just sit. Sometimes you have a lot of thoughts, and then once you have a lot of thoughts, you have one point in which you concentrate. And then when you get to that one point, then you can have logical, practical thinking of learning. So it's a way to center myself. So movement has always given me that. Bharatanatyam, on the other hand, has given me a purpose and a direction to use this joy that I get from movement. So it has been my conduit to relate to the world in many ways. So let's say I like all movement. I can't very well choreograph in all movement. I'm not even good at it. I can't speak. I can't create. I can't converse. I can't articulate. All the other movement just gives me a sense of joy. It doesn't give me direction for my life, right? But Bharatanatyam has given me that. Because along with being a movement vocabulary, it's also a movement vocabulary that has a connection to my rootedness in my spiritual side. It has a connection to my upbringing from, like my environment, language, all of that. It also is a form that I'm used to because I learned from when I was very young. So I'm best at Bharatanatyam. I'm not as good at in any of the other dance forms, right? I can do it for fun, but I'm not that good. So in Bharatanatyam, when I dance, it's like I can speak well. I can articulate well. And through that, I can share things, whether it's a story. And most of the time, it's just all the classical pieces are about spiritual unfoldment. It's about seeking, finding, a lot of joy, a lot of beauty, and that gives me a connection to my, to the members of the audience, to that world of mine, which is a very big one. I know a lot of people in the modern world don't connect to the traditional pieces of Bharatanatyam because they feel, oh, it's about something else. It's about some other thing. They're portraying some woman who's like this, who's like that. But I don't feel like that because that...
Do you think the concept of religion comes in? That Bharatanatyam...
It's not just religion. Like, see, I'll come to this religion after later. But they feel that this is about what is some Radha, some Krishna, something. She's asking, she's yearning. What is this? It doesn't make any sense. But for me, it makes sense. It makes sense because I see the spiritual layers. And for me, that makes complete sense. And it's always relevant to me. So I can never reject the traditional work because I enjoy dancing it. I enjoy creating it. And I get completely involved when I dance it. But the Bharatanatyam vocabulary itself has also allowed me to make other work, like Abducted, which is relevant to our current world and current landscape and how we function in society today. And these emotions as well. So what keeps me going is that that's the only thing I know. I don't know anything else to do. So I do it.
You also said when you dance, you cease to exist.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I mean, me as Rukmini, I cease to exist, which is amazing. I don't identify with Rukmini anymore. So, and I wish I could have that in my life as well. Like when I stop dancing, I don't want to identify and like be limited and overwhelmed and emotional and all this, you know?
Who is Rukmini?
Exactly.
In your experience, what do you know about Rukmini?
Who is Rukmini is exactly my point.
What do you think about Rukmini?
I don't have anything to think.
Mm.
Others should think. But it is what I am in this world. It's not that thing. But if you say who is Rukmini, I don't know.
Mm.
Is it a name? Is it that I'm a dancer? Is it this body? Is it because I wear certain clothes? Is it because I'm so and so's daughter? Or because I'm so and so's wife? So and so's sister? Who is Rukmini? I am a performer, I'm this. Yeah, okay, fine. So who is Rukmini actually?
Have you gotten an answer?
No, that's what Vedanta is. So
Okay.
that's what it says, no? Tattvamasi. But I'm saying that I cease to exist as in the I of Rukmini doesn't exist in my dance. Because the moment it exists, it becomes about me. It becomes about me showing that Aramandi, me showing that Muktayam, me showing that, me showing Krishna, me showing Radha. Look at me, look at Radha, look at that. So then it becomes Rukmini showing Radha. It's not Radha. I have to stop being there. Then Radha will be there. Then Ravana will be there. Then the serial killer will be there.
So how are you taught to be Radha? The teacher teaches you, or it happens through personal practice?
The teacher can guide you. And the teacher can... So when I teach my students, I teach them how to create an imaginary sphere, how to handle imaginary objects, how to imagine an imaginary thing. Then I give them all the tools. Obviously, they learn the aesthetics of the hand and thing and position and looking and tracking and using the eye to see a person. Then the practicalities of whether it's a child and you're dressing a child, keeping the same height, or it's an adult. The rules of theatre, all these things I give them. But finally, to embody that last final step of embodying the character is there.
They have to forget the environment and really go into the character, right?
They don't forget the environment. Their imaginary environment has to be so real. They believe it. So it is that the imaginary environment. So Sattvika Abhinaya actually, people use that word. They just say, oh, there was a lot of Sattvikam. They just mean there was a lot of honesty. But in reality, Sattvika Abhinaya is where your imaginary environment is so true that your body gets fooled into believing it. And there's an involuntary reaction of the body. So let's say in my imaginary environment, I see a Tyrannosaurus Rex that's going to eat me. And then I get so scared that I involuntarily shiver or I have goosebumps. So my body reacts involuntarily to this.
Is it empowering to allow your brain to create these situations?
It's cathartic. That's why they say like theatre itself is like a catharsis. Even though it's not real, they feel the emotions of the character.
Does it have an impact on mental health?
As in, I think that art can be very rejuvenating. I don't know very much about how it will impact mental health, but I do know that when you go through these emotions and you know it's not real, it can be very thing. But see, if you say like, let's say they go to a movie and you take a small kid and they show like all this violence and killing, a child still doesn't know to distinguish that it's not real.
They live it.
Yeah. It's very different. That's why they have ratings for movies, right? And also if you see a documentary, it's a part of your life. So even if it's a film and it's very close to reality, it may have the opposite effect rather than catharsis. Usually this happens when there is enough of life, but it's removed from life. So there's a lightness when you finish.
There's a distinction. You know it's not real.
But you still feel the emotions.
Mm.
You feel the emotions, you cry for that character, you laugh for the other character. This one happens, some sadness happens, some union happens. And you're like, wow, that was a great movie. So when it's done with the movie, you don't leave the movie feeling heavy and sad, right? When you leave a movie feeling heavy and sad, it's probably because it's very close to reality.
So the residue stays back with you.
Yeah. So let's say you're facing, like during COVID, we're facing a lot of loss. Then you watch a movie about loss and grieving, and you've just had loss. You come out of the movie because it's so close to reality, you can't separate yourself from it.
It's very relatable.
But that's not rasa.
Mm.
Rasa is when you experience it even when it's not real.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Then you feel like, oh wow, that was. So even if you cried, you'll be like, oh.
Growing up, why did you have a bittersweet connection with dance?
I think it was because old school class, it was a very strict environment, and I felt very stifled in that environment. So although I really wanted to dance, it was kind of a struggle against the environment to kind of dance in some ways. And finally, I realized it wasn't dance, it was the environment. But I was too young to know that.
Hmm.
There came a point where I moved my teacher to someone else. I started going to Sundari Akka and Narmada Auntie then. And suddenly, it just felt amazing because there were small things that changed. And it's not that some people don't flourish in that. I know there's some students of mine. So even if I had that very strict kind of environment, there's some students of mine who would still do very well. But there are other students of mine who wouldn't. So I think each child is different. That particular learning environment when I was very young was, although I learned a lot and I'm very thankful to my teacher, it was very stifling for me.
What did that experience teach you as a teacher not to be very strict? What was your learning like?
I mean, I think inadvertently sometimes I used to become strict because I felt like that's how you need to do. All my others, don't get me wrong, all my other teachers are very strict. Were very, very strict. Sundari Akka was very strict. She would and I loved it. I loved the strictness. It's not that I didn't flourish in the strictness of it. And even my teachers in college were very strict, like mean strict actually. I think I would end up doing that to my students sometimes before. But I think in more recent years, I realize it's their journey. It's not for me to give them everything that I didn't get and also make sure they, kind of flourish in that. So even if I give them everything, it's their journey to want it, receive it, and then take it into their bodies. I can't do that last step for them. And as a young teacher, I would try. Oh, you didn't get that? Let me do it again. You didn't get this? Let me do it again. Oh, you're not practicing? I'll add another class for you so that you can practice. So it was like I was trying to fill all the gaps that they were actually meant to fill themselves. Now I don't do that anymore. In the last, it's very recent, I think in the last 4 years.
Do you feel you've grown as a person?
Yeah, I've grown a lot as a person, especially in the last 5 years. Especially in the last 5 years. And I think it's liberating. It's liberating because I don't take the weight of their choices. Because I do my best, I do my duty, I'm the best teacher, but I don't let their choice either affect me in any way actually. It doesn't affect me emotionally, it doesn't affect me thing. I'm like, you're making the choice. You can do this if you want. If you don't want, don't do it. Yeah, so it's it's quite different. I'm also not a very I'm strict in class, but my students also say I'm very funny. So
you like to have fun.
Yeah.
How much time does it take to really put a creative piece together with your students?
Oh, with my dance company.
You were doing something very funny with the kids going on the stairs outside the temple and you're asking them to turn and they'll stop, they'll look back, they'll smile, they'll giggle.
Those things don't take any time. We just do that for fun. But a proper production takes at least a year.
A year?
Yeah. From ideating, thinking about it, putting it together, composing, then getting the dancers into rehearsals.
So the yoga
Takes at
anthem
least.
that you did in your full split.
Oh, that one didn't take very long.
Hmm.
That took I think I choreographed it on them while we were on the set.
Can all Bharatanatyam dancers do splits?
My students can. Most of my students, not all of them.
What exercises are really best
For Bharatanatyam?
for splits?
For splits. You're the yoga teacher.
But this particular tradition that we focus on, it comes in the tradition of Sri Krishnamacharya, who is B.K. Iyengar's guru.
Yeah.
So they don't really push the body. It's more to do with working with the limitations, especially if yoga has come to you post 30, because by then there's a certain restriction in the body.
You have to.
Yeah, like say if I have lordosis, they will not give me extreme back bends.
Correct.
Because it will worsen my spine.
Yeah.
If I have any situation in the pelvis, then we don't work with that. We try to protect and preserve the strength and strengthen other aspects.
That's really nice, actually.
Yeah.
So getting back to the splits, hamstrings, then hip flexors, you need to stretch. Basically, it's those two things. Yeah.
So you posted something very interesting. Day 50, 100 days of inner growth.
Yeah.
I'm finding that it's not really learning what to say, but learning when to remain silent that is most important. We often speak before we think, and taking that step back and choosing to remain silent is becoming my first step in learning this valuable lesson. I don't succeed all the time, but even the few times that I do, it makes a world of a difference to the outcome of an interaction. That was a lovely sharing.
Yeah.
I'd like to know in what context you actually posted that.
So many. So many. I think there would be some that were personal, like when you have an argument with somebody, like your family member, like my mom or my husband, I guess, are the ones I argue with the most. Or if you say sometimes even with my house help,
that's the closest relationship.
Yeah, so and she's so sweet. I've had her for more than from when we got married, she's been there. And I remember I would get more upset quickly, if she said something or made some random excuse. Now I just don't say anything. And then suddenly the relationship has changed. We have so many more laughs. We're always laughing. When I talk to them, I'll be like, why isn't this clean? And they'll be like, ha, Devi. And they'll be laughing, I'll be laughing. But it's not that you don't get the work done. It's I'll be like, see, this is not done. Why didn't you do it? But then there's also a lot of laughter. Same thing with my dance students. So it's they'll say, I didn't practice. So earlier I would go off into a huge tangent. You didn't practice. What do you expect me to do here? Blah, blah, blah. So I do make the point. But they're not supposed to know this, but I'm not angry anymore. So earlier I would let the anger lead me or the upset lead me. Now I'm kind of depicting anger. I'll be like, why didn't you do this? You should have practiced it. You had 3 days. You didn't practice it. And then I'll be like, okay, go outside and practice. You guys, come on. So it's more like I show my dissent enough to motivate them to kind of do what they need to do. And then I just kind of move on. So it's not like that is controlling me anymore. And it used to. It definitely did. And I would come home, I would be upset, I would be this thing that they didn't do stuff and I'm very affected by my dance students actually. I used to be by the choices they made because I wanted the best for them. It's not that it came from a bad place. It came from wanting them to actually become better than me. Because I was like, you have everything. You can become better than me. You can become amazing. So it was from wanting that so badly that I would kind of sometimes push them too hard. Now I don't do that anymore. So I take silence. If I don't know what to say, I take silence. And the ideal situation is knowing what to say. It's holding your emotion and then responding with a quiet mind. If I'm not able to respond, I just keep quiet and I wait. And then if I wait, then in a day or something, or maybe even 10 minutes, an hour, depending on how much is affecting me, then I'll know a better way to respond. Because usually if I respond immediately, I say the wrong thing.
All of us do.
Now I'm getting better though. I've been responding to many situations within like short spans of time, sometimes immediately also. I can see the difference in my environment. I can see the difference in the way people react. I can also see the difference in my own self, in the way I'm much calmer. I'm not as like agitated. I'm not like non-functioning, which would happen in times when, like there's a lot of stress. In the last 5 years, it's not made a small difference. It has made a humongous difference in the way that I see, interact with my environment.
Thank you so much for this lovely, insightful conversation. Everything that you've spoken to us today is of utmost value and so profound, something to reflect on deeply.
Thank you.
And I think each one of us as individuals, when we choose a profession, it's nothing but an extension of us in some way.
Yeah.
And I don't know if dance has helped you grow as a person or if dance is growing on you,
Yeah.
but both of you are a beautiful confluence of each other. And I hope your growth flourishes and your work reaches more places. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. And thank you for being on Sacred Pod.
Thank you for having me on Sacred Pod. And I wish you the very best. I just want to say, like, you're so warm. It's very, I don't know, endearing to have someone so warm in front of me. Thank you.
I think it's just mirroring each other.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching this episode till the end. We as a team put in many hours of work to curate each episode. If you like our content, you can support us by subscribing to our channel and hitting the bell icon. And we promise to get better and bigger together.